Okay, we are live years later. So this was actually supposed to be live earlier. I had a whole series planned of like Supergirl, Sunday school, how to activate your superpowers, but that went out the window because of time. Hello, Los Magis, Joss Turn, Scorpio 15, DMG. Welcome to the live. So we're gonna do actually, we're gonna go back into the future and we're going to revisit a story that I read you guys way back when I was first reading you guys comic books on this live, which is Grant Morrison's Multiversity. Let me just surprise everybody, because I now have more intel on a lot of the different worlds and characters that exist. Oh, thanks Tez, thanks for that gift. The multi, yes. It looks kind of crazy with the way I have the filter on, but you know what? I'll leave it. I'll leave it. I'll go with it. We'll call it creative, whatever you want to call it. So if you guys aren't familiar with Multiversity, we are going to do a story from it, but that's not all. We are also going to do a look at the events that led up to it, which is Crisis on Infinite Earths, which you guys know is a very dear story to me just because of it being the first crossover event in the DC universe. And this, you can see it, like I have it like post-it notes of where Supergirl makes some pretty epic statements, as well as the fact that she sacrifices herself for the sake of the multiverse, right? So kind of why I love her a lot. Love it. Yeah, thank you guys. So we're going to talk about Multiversity just because my schedule has been all over the place. You guys know that I've been working on my own book, which if you guys have ever worked on anything creative, you know that it can actually be quite difficult. Oh, Bone and Bury, hi. Yes, you too. Have a wonderful day. So actually, I had a plan of being Supergirl earlier. So if you want to join me as Supergirl, we're going to talk about Promethea too, but let me take a step back. We're going to do a read first for Multiversity. And then we're going to talk a little bit about, because technically it's Monday now, right? Because it's past midnight here in the Eastern time zone where I'm at. And I used to do these reads for you guys super, super late at night because of like, what is time anyways? Time zones. If we were on the moon or on Mars, we would all be under the same time zone. So Omaha, hi. I feel like it's been a while. Welcome. Oh, and Samations, thank you for sharing the live. So we're going to look at Multiversity. We're not going to read all of Multiversity because, as you guys can see, it's a huge book. This, however, I have different context on it. Now you can see here that there's some pages that are like that fell out, and one of them actually fell out during a read, and so we're going to go right to that. Okay, and then we're going to read actually the Just again, which now I know a lot more about the younger versions of the Justice League, like the Teen Titans. I have a bit more information on them. I used to not know as much about like Damian and like Superboy and like that whole generation of superheroes. So now that I have some intel, a lot of the stories in this make a lot more sense. And Dandy Money Man, thank you. Thanks for the gift and welcome to the read. Welcome, you guys. So it was supposed to be Supergirl Sunday. It's technically Monday. And so I had a whole plan, right? I was going to be Supergirl earlier and we were going to... So let me bring this back. If you want to join Superhero School, I have a textbook finally finished and some modules made. You can join me every Sunday. And so what I'm going to be doing, it'll be much earlier than right now. Hey, Pokey, I hope you're well. This was supposed to take place at 1 p.m. today. It's now the next day. But going forward, Supergirl, myself, will be hosting Superhero School, and the first lesson is actually origin stories. Now, live action, it's still Sunday there. Okay, good. I'm glad that's the beauty of doing it the late night reads. I love like midnight, or that concept too, like it's It's 11 a.m. somewhere, so it's never too early to have a whiskey, I guess. But bringing it back to origin stories and learning how to become a superhero, right? So I remember, and this is not DC, but I was reading a Spider-Man comic book, The Spider-Verse, 10 p.m. Oh, you're on the West Coast, right? You're in the Cali side. West Coast, Best Coast, I feel like. Oh, you were surprised you enjoyed it too, Pokey. I was surprised I enjoyed it as well. I was actually, myself and Guy Gardner were supposed to do a little talk about the power of the Green Lantern ring, and I was actually going to unveil my brand new power ring as Jessica Cruz, but guess what happened? There's a Canada Post strike. But you know what? Yes, President of TikTok. We're going to do this as a... So I was actually going to be required reading for the Cosmic Comic Book Club, just as it comes to things like cosmology. So Grant Morrison, I'm going to actually show you guys Promethea. Promethea's not related. So Promethea is written by Alan Moore. Grant Morrison and Alan Moore are both writers of they're both just comic book writers in general that are known as like wizards and stuff. I think Grant Morrison came out recently as being non-binary. I don't remember, but like I can see why that would happen when you're a writer, right? Serious Magicians, yes. Oh, and thanks, Dylan. And so when I look at reading their books, I also take into consideration their own personal cosmology. And I say this because it's my belief. This is my belief, you guys, just from, you can take it if it resonates. If it doesn't, maybe not. But to me, just as someone who studied things like English literature, like Shakespeare and the Iliad, the Nag Hammadi, even the Bible, everything's written in like stanzas and verses, right? It's all poetry. The prose is done in certain rhythm and meter. And so how things are said have another meaning to it, right? I also don't enjoy Green Lantern in season 2 of Peacemaker. Okay. Which Green Lantern is that, Pokey? Well, thanks, Bully. Aw, thanks, you guys. This is a special cosplay for me. This is when I used to compete in fitness. I used to do the fitness routine as well, right? But before guys here. Oh my gosh. Can you give me like 15 minutes, Mr. Guy? I have to have a different mic for this. I forgot about our little battle because I was so all over the place today because timing, and that's why I wanted to read you guys Multiversity, because I actually had a different plan where I was going to do Supergirl's he was in there for 3 seconds. The Guy Gardner is the Green Lantern in DCU at the moment. Yes. Now, if you guys, hands up to everyone who's seen the movie, it's kind of cool. Well, I mean, James Gunn did this, right? So it's important to note that every filmmaker, when they're taking on a comic book story, there is so much in comic book lore. There's so much. You're not going to be able to encompass the gravitas of all the different versions of these characters, especially like even the Green Lantern Corps and like the rings and the power rings and like how that all dynamic works. It's something Jessica and Guy were going to talk about, right? Because how the ring chooses you, right? This concept of magical tools or allies, or let's call them like where we get our power from as superpowers. And this is where the origin story comes into play. So if you want to join my superhero school, our first module is origin story. So I've been doing it every Sunday. It's 2 hours. The first hour is gonna be free, just like normal. Like, I'll be Supergirl with you on Sunday. I'll have my whiteboard behind me, and we'll do a little module. And I have it broken down into 12 lessons, like 1 being origin, 2 being things like symbols, creating your own power sigils, understanding where your power comes from, and this is why I think we resonate with certain superheroes over others, right? Their origin story or where their power comes from, it speaks to us on a level. And like, oh, okay, that would be cool. But to other people, like, I don't even, why do you care? Like, if a friend of mine she doesn't understand why I like Green Lantern so much. I don't really understand why I like Green Lantern so much. They're kind of like galactic space cops, so I shouldn't like them, right? But I ended up liking them because of a story that ended up with a crossover between Kara going to Mogo, and Mogo is a sentient planet of the Green Lantern Corps. Mogo as a planet has like this tree branch that also has a Green Lantern ring. So the idea of having a sentient planet, Marvel does this too because Star-Lord's dad is supposed to be a planet, right? And Rahu, thank you for following. So that concept, right? Earth is sentient too. We are part of like Earth's consciousness, right? Like cells. And Grant Morrison's way of describing his multiverse, right? Because it's all perspective, right? We have to also remember that as good as certain creatives get models, it's not the only truth. You're going to have to take that into your own reality and parse out what will make sense in your own story. So I think that's the biggest lesson I've had as it comes to being involved in loving comics and loving movies and loving these stories so much, that in loving them, realizing that other people have different reasons for loving those characters, and because they don't love a character in the same way I do, doesn't make it like a wrong way to love them, right? Like some people, like I wouldn't want to have Supergirl, like I wouldn't necessarily cast myself as Supergirl, for example, all the time, depending, right? And then again, like Supergirl's supposed to be Kryptonian, so the way she looks is Kryptonian, which is alien, right? She says that a lot in a lot of the comic books. She's like, I'm an alien, so I don't really trust the government because, you know, experimentation, all that kind of stuff. Hey, Timmy, I need to send you a picture, a sketch. I need you to color it for me. It's a landscape. And thank you for joining. The Eternals movie and all the planets have a living God inside. The Eternals movie, I feel like, don't kill me, I didn't watch it actually, but I heard Salma Hayek and what's her face? Angelina Jolie. I mean, I love Salma Hayek over Angelina, but they're of a time and a breed of actresses. I didn't miss much. English or Spanish. I am a mix of things. So I'm half South African and half Filipino, but I was born in Canada, right? So when I growing up in the prairies, you know, like when you have to check those boxes of like, what race are you? Or like, I didn't know what to do. There's never a box for me. So anyways, I feel like Kara a lot. I feel like Supergirl a lot because, you know, you don't really fit in. The last daughter of Krypton. Your people don't have people. You have Clark. That's it. And Crypto, another Kryptonian, the last dog of Krypton. Oh, hey Rogers, welcome. Worth watch for the end credits. You know what? Some things are worth it just for the end. Just like the Superman movie, Supergirl, Millie Alcock does show up at the end. However, I've discussed with you guys how much I love Crypto, but the way Crypto's origin story goes is that he is truly Jor-El's dog, right? He is like a rescue on Krypton that Superman's dad picks up, right? And then in many versions of the tale, I think it's Superman's name day or his baptism, and Kara is there as well. And oh, thanks for the tiara, Mr. Panther. Thank you. So Crypto, protecting his family, he pushes the bad guys who are trying to assassinate someone. I forget exactly. I'm not telling it exactly right. But regardless, Crypto saves his fam by pushing them into the Phantom Zone, but he falls into the Phantom Zone too. Oh yes, summations. Yes, he can. I just have to change my mic, and I wanted to read something from here first. So we'll see. It's late here. I wanted to be. I was supposed to be Jessica tonight, but Kara came here instead. Jessica's busy, but Jessica also has a lot of anxiety about things, and however, Jessica Rabbit. That's a good one. No, Jessica Cruz. However, I love the name Jessica in general. Jessica from Dune. It's Jessica Rabbit. There's a few other Jessicas that are pretty cool. Let's go into the read I wanted to do with you guys. And so I can hopefully co-host, have some time to do that. But if not, summations for sure tomorrow, because Jessica Cruz, I have, you know what I'm doing, you guys? You know, Crazy from Britney Spears. You know, she's wearing that green outfit. I'm doing Jessica Cruz doing the choreography to Britney Spears' Crazy. How cool is that, right? And then I'll hopefully give you guys a tutorial to do it. I'm not expecting Guy to know it, but it'd be cool to have like a scene so I can have like all the different Green Lanterns in like a new music video for it. And I'm hoping you guys, for my new movie, I'm going to reach out. You know how Tarantino, he brought back John Travolta's career because he was like washed up, and then he like recast him, and all of a sudden he was like hot again. Tarantino had that knack of finding like actors and like giving them new life. So I'm like hopeful maybe I can find like washed up divas and like give them new life. And I was asking my girlfriend, like, you think Britney Spears would be in my movie if I managed to like pull some strings? You know, I would love Kristen Krug actually to be in my movie and actually play Lana Lang. Like, be wonderful. Is Wolfie hiding? He's sleeping right now. Oh, he's passed out. He's so cute right now. It's looking very crypto-y. All right. So this is a page that has fallen out of the comic book. I read it to you guys before. It came out of nowhere, and it talks about like the meta way comic books work. Let me see. Last time I was trying to read you guys something really meta and pretty washed up actors that got second chances. Jim Carrey, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Or like comedians that show off their more like dramatic suit. And Robert Downey Jr. with Iron Man definitely got a second chance at stardom, I think, there. Okay, so I'm gonna read you guys this part, this page that fell out of Multiversity a long time ago when I read it to you guys, and then we're gonna read you guys. I'm gonna read you guys the gist again, and we're gonna have some different context to it because the gist takes place in a world in Multiversity. I'll explain that later. Let me just read this first. Okay, so this is I forget the name of the character, but he's kind of like a Dr. Manhattan character in this world. He's the only superhero in this world. And they have him sitting like lotus position inside this, what do you want to call it? There's a name for it. Hopefully, like particle, you know, they're trying to find the God particle and they're trying to, I forget. Anyways. His return to Sonic was legendary. That dance sequence as well in Sonic with Jim Carrey is quite impressive, by the way. I need to learn it. Okay. On pages 12 and 13, so you have him reading a comic book there in lotus position saying, on pages 12 and 13, I caught sight of a massless time-symmetrical boson, a Mobius loop curving through 8 dimensions. I heard something knocking on the door to get in. Captain, this is Dr. McDougal in the control room. Can we put away the comic book, please? I'm thinking about how our universe appears from a higher dimensional perspective. Flat. So from a higher dimension, even though we're in a rounded plane, it appears flat. Let's go on. Captain, please concentrate. This is Professor Lyons, commencing particle acceleration. Are you ready? Complete, yet always beginning, always ending. always different. The story is linear, but I can flip through the pages in any order, any direction, forward in time to the conclusion, and back to the opening scene. The characters remain unaware of my scrutiny, but their thoughts are transparent to me, weightless, sitting in little clouds. This is how 2 dimensions looks to you. Now imagine how your 3D world appears to me. Love it, right? And so I want to quickly flip. I don't know if Promethea has this, but in Promethea, which is Alan Moore's, I love Promethea. I received this series of comic books actually as a gift from a friend of mine who's one of my dragon warriors. So Promethea is the superhero. She's like she's living imagination. You can invoke her by doing things like writing poetry or being creative. In this, they also have a scene where it's like the end of the world and people start to lose it because of the way the electromagnetics are changing and like the Earth's magnetics. And so what feels like 1 week ago feels like yesterday. What feels like 3 years ago feels like it was tomorrow. So people get this perspective of almost coming up, like eagle eye view out of this dimension in a higher dimension. And then it looks like a film strip, right? And what are film strips other than like kind of storyboards of what comic books look like? And Alan Moore is like, I'll read Promethea to you guys probably on our members only stuff, because there's a lot of stuff in here that I always flag the restriction for some reason. I think it's just because of the way like there's magic encoded in it. So Alan Moore, it's kind of funny too, because I think both of those guys don't like each other. I think that Alan Moore is accused Grant Morrison of copying him, but I'm of an opinion that I think Grant's younger than Alan. I think that Grant is probably influenced by him, but I think, I don't know who calls himself a chaos magician, but I was playing D&D the other day and we came upon like a scroll, and the guys in the group were like, I think Mayari should hold on to it as the resident lawyer of the group. I'm like, when did the rogue become the lawyer of the group? But fine. And I'm like, I think a magic user should be using scrolls or spells and stuff. And then our sorcerer on the team was like, well, I'm a sorcerer. We don't use like spell books. Sorcerers just use like raw magic. And so that's something to consider, right? Like every world has its own parameters by which how these very fantastical things work, right? Even writing my book at 14, The Dragon Warriors, and coming back to it at 40 and like making it make sense has been crazy, because like 14-year-old me was like, well, we just jump in a portal, now we're here, now we're transformed, now you can shoot fire from your fingertips, now we're here. And I'm like, but this, how? And even some of my comic books, like it can be so interesting how they can take you in the story like way out over here in the cosmos, and it can get like, especially in Green Lantern comic books, it can all get like tied up and fixed in like 2 pages. Now all of a sudden it was all a dream, or like Hal's like, I knew that like it was me, I was just pretending this whole time, right? So it's just interesting, and you're like, oh, how are they gonna, but it works, right? Because the ending, like that final scene, even like in Avengers, where like you're building to that climax, it all depends on the careful storytelling of the scenes that come before it, even if it's not linear, right? So that scene where it's like you're all like in that fighter position, and then you get the full body tingles when like the 2 characters that you love the most finally get to meet, and like they interact, and it's everything you ever hoped for. So like all that stuff, like to build up to it, that's skill, right? And also it takes all of the weight and us loving each of the characters and knowing all of the stories that came before it. And that is something that the MCU did beautifully well, starting with Robert Downey Jr., is that you had really strong films for each of those characters, so that when they all came together, it was like you didn't have to go through like why you should care about each of these heroes. You already do, right? And so that's, I think, has been taken advantage of a little bit in some regard when it comes to big movie franchises. So you end up with like Fast and the Furious 10 because you love all those characters, and now you don't have to do all the work of like, okay, why would you like this character, right? So I bringing this all back around to like how comic books are a one of the ways you can model how reality looks like, right? It's one thing to observe and tag and analyze reality. It's another thing to live it, right? So wizards and sorcerers are definitely the same in terms of using magic. They can use items too. So another thing of nuance that I want to bring up was actually in the DC universe. I found this little graphic about how power works. Let me explain. Like, I love The Flash. I'm working on a cosplay for my hubby to be Barry Allen because I love Barry Allen. He's so good. Like, such a good character. Like, and him and Kara are good friends as well. And Grant Morrison has written a lot of really great Flash books, comic books that I love as well, including one where it's like the human race, right? And everyone on Earth has to like run for humanity because the human race, and like it's a double entendre, and I love it. Ah, so good. Hey, Papa Dave. Hi, welcome. But in this graphic, they talk about different places by which power comes from. So all the speedsters in the DC universe take their power from the Speed Force, right? And then you have people like Diana, Wonder Woman, or it's like Aquaman, who they're taking their power from a divine source, like gods and goddesses, right? And then you have, I think there's like more like chaos, or so there's different areas by which you're invoking in order to be the conduit for that power and wielding it. If he could host me, I'm actually going to probably drop soon. I'm going to read my thing and drop. I wanted to actually be on much earlier. We were supposed to do a co-host with Jessica, and then I wanted to do Kara last minute, but then I need to actually finish something. Yeah, it's been a rough day. Like, yeah. Tell him I'm so sorry about that. We will do that too, though, because Guy Gardner, I just found out too, Nathan Fillion, who is the voice of Guy Gardner, was also the voice of Hal Jordan in the animation. Not the voice, so it's just a funny thing. And he's a great Hal. Like, he's got a good Hal voice, because Hal's got that kind of like cocky attitude that's like, I don't know, it's kind of charming. It's like the girls love it. But quick note, as I said, like most of my girlfriends, when I ask them who their favorite Green Lantern is, they'll say Guy Gardner. Got that roguish thing. Godspeed. Oh, thank you, Mr. Panther. It's been a rough, you know what though? It's, I've been just trying to finish my book, right? I'm in like that last end, and every time I click go to go publish and put it on, I find typos or I find something I want to change. So I keep on going back and changing stuff. And so like that, I think, is like every creative. I feel like if you guys can like resonate with that when it comes to anything, when you're like drawing, like when are you done? Like when are you done like making all of the final adjustments and tinkering and like, and then also too, you can mess things up by like tinkering and messing with it too much, right? So there's also that, just being like, all right, there may be mistakes in it, but it's good. Ship it, get it out there. Like in when I used to project manage for Fiat Dodge Chrysler, me and my my work wifey Doris, because I don't know about most places, but in agencies that I worked at when I was a project manager, you had an account manager who dealt with the client, and the PM dealt with like the building of the things, right? The creative, the developers, the QA, all that kind of stuff, the timelines, the budget. So between the two of you, you handled things, right? So like she dealt with the client, I dealt with like what needed to be done. So in the end, right, you're doing QA, and you can only sometimes fix things up to a certain point where you have to be like, you know what, it's good enough, we'll fix it in post. Well, or like in filming movies, like in me thinking about like planning out my shots and stuff too, is like the better you plan out your shots, the less work you have to do in post-production, trying to fix things, being like, I should have used a green screen, I should have taken an extra shot, I should have taken the extra time to just do it, just what I like to say, for safety. Let's just do it for safety, you guys. Put it out and fix it later. It's a fine balance. Timelines, budgets, and also like clients who think that they can just, I used to love clients who would like call me on the phone, right? Because I would write really, really tight RFPs and tight contracts, right? I'd be like, okay, you only get 2 creative design changes, because once we go to development and I have to go back and make something blue, you're paying for that, right? So I love clients who, like, knowing that, will call me and be like, Rachel, so there's this thing, you know, I know we're in development and I don't have the cost, but can you fix it? I'm like, yeah, I can fix it. Just can you get that to me in writing? And then I'll tell you how much it'll cost. I love you. Bye. You can do it really nice, but you owe it to your team, especially as a PM, and you'd have to fight a little bit with your account manager, which is why I call her my work wife, because it's one of those things where like you are not going to agree all the time, but in that conflict and pushing and pulling against each other, you come up with a better solution, hopefully. Oh, thank you. She needs to fundraise the money too. Oh, nice. In writing, for sure. Yes, everything in writing, my friends. Writing is the first technology, after all. And I do think there's something magical about that, just writing itself. So, okay. Well, tell him I will see him tomorrow. I was going to do it tonight, but as per usual, I was behind on things, and I need to actually get this read out to you guys, so it's out in the consciousness and I can edit it later. So I'm going to read you this piece, and then we're going to read the just because it has some beautiful imagery as it comes to, look at it, the multiverse, right? And then an imperceptible flaw is discovered in Hithro immaculate perception. Perfection, not perception. I apologize. A flaw that is everything that perfection is not. Defining its relationship to the flaw, perfection names itself monitor mind of the overvoid. Of the overvoid is monitor born and entity monitor, which is the opposite. The conflict generator, the story machine. Supergirl and Jean Grey, they're my favorites too. One of my viewers came up with a cool cosplay name, which I think I'm going to take. Kara Jean, right? Like a play on like those two characters, because ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be like a redhead for some strange reason. It was like a strange preoccupation I had. Me yelling at halos. I have to fix Cortana. My Cortana outfit, the zipper that I got I got it from AliExpress, of course. And then when I got it, I wore it a few times. I realized I put in the zipper in backwards, of course. And so I have to undo it and redo it and put the zipper in proper. So you will see more Halo lore coming out very soon. Just because I want to return to Reach and revisit some of the Spartan lore. But bringing it back to this lore in Multiversity, I'm just going to read you like this part because I do love... Oh, Savage Demon, I will have Star Wars comics, definitely, for sure. I have done some Heroes comics, but I also do like the more novels with Star Wars as opposed to the comics as much, but we'll see. We'll find some good stories. Okay. Of the overvoid is monitor born and anti-monitor, which is the opposite. The conflict generator, the story machine. Monitor mind, in shock from the schism, acts to contain the flaw, to bottle the flaw and prevent its spread. Okay. For study, Monitor Mind brings forth Science Monitor Dax Novu, who selflessly enters the flaw and is contaminated and is also split into two. I know, oh no, not the anti-monitor, not him. But you know, it's the duality of things, right? D&D, I feel like, does this well, right? This idea of alignment, right? Of good, evil, neutral, and then chaotic, neutral, order. And these ways of how people make decisions aligned with certain paths, right? So let's see here. What had been universe becomes multiverse. Divided, deranged, Novu catalogs and numbers each variation on a basic theme, each with an alternative twist. But Novu looks too close, too deep, infected by activity and process, by the endless play of matter and narrative. Novu is blinded, corrupted by the flaw's lightning dazzle. It's like the ring, you know, in Lord of the Rings. My precious, my precious. Power can corrupt. That blissful, like, intoxicating power. That's why you need to come to it with love, right? That's the lesson, guys. And so they're reading cave paintings, right? That's interesting because, like, how I look at even comic books, they're very similar to hieroglyphics and cave paintings, right? Because you're telling a story not only with words, but with images, right? And pictures. So you can see him saying, and so begins all things with a flash. You mentioned old comic books. So now why would these be here? Coincidence, Commandi? With Barry Allen. So we get to talk about, I love the flashback, and you can see like the way it's drawn too. It's like we're going back into time. With Barry Allen, my favorite Flash. I love you, Barry. A young police forensic scientist endowed with super speed powers after a freak lab accident in Central City. Now possessed of the ability to accelerate to velocities approaching c, light. Bizarro Supergirl for Halloween. She's fun though. I have a story with Bizarro Supergirl too. I'm actually also working on a Miss Marvel cosplay, not to be confused with like Shazam's counterpart, which I don't know what they're going to rename her if there's a Miss Marvel in Marvel, because I feel like there was already the one from DC. She's in this actually. She looks like very Mary Sue. Like, where are you? Here. Her. Mary Marvel. I think she's like in the animated versions. They have her like darker version, like Black Mary. No. And also to Captain Marvel, that whole origin story of that character deserves a little bit of a deep dive another day. Okay. A young police forensic scientist endowed with super speed powers after a freak lab accident in Central City, now possessed of the ability to accelerate to the velocities approaching c, light, the Flash. Yes, his sister. Yes. Who took his name from a comic book hero of his youth, soon sensed evidence of unearthly cosmic harmonies. Hey, Black Superman, thanks for the heart me. We are reading Multiversity, which you're a part of, actually. Black Superman is actually president in here as well. He leads the task force against the reality demons. Where are you? There's a whole map Here, I got it. I got it. So see, Earth 0, Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 3. Where are you? I like this one for that. It has like all of the, like a map of it all, right? It's pretty cool, actually. I love the Wonder Woman in this version as well. Earth 23. Kal-El is this world's Superman, but also the President of the United States of America. So that's a kind of cool tidbit. When's that happening for you? I love it. All right, let's make it happen. Or maybe you're busy in a different timeline. Hi, Philip. How's it going? Okay, let's keep going because I wasn't even planning on reading this part. That's all like divination stuff. Here we go. To determine to uncover proof of parallel worlds, Barry Allen practiced adjusting his frequency. So I do think there's a tell in this, right? So as I said to you guys many times before on this live, there are so many comic books, so many stories, it is impossible for anyone to read them all. Well, maybe not. Maybe someone could spend a whole lifetime and you could do it. But many stories require rereading, right? I can tell you many times I've gone back to old stories and read them and being like, I don't remember this being there, but I guess it was always there, right? It was waiting for me to be ready to see it or hear it or understand it. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is that when it comes to divination in your life, it's more than like tarot cards or astro or any of the hokey stuff. It can be quite as simple as like, I feel like watching Terminator 2. I don't know. I love Terminator 2, right? Unless you're a collector of comics. That's true too, Philip. If that's like your job. But even then, Philip, I find that it's a niche, right? So are you going to be able to really read all the mangas, all of the Berserks? Like my sister loves Berserk and has all of the mangas. And there's so many of them. I have Sailor Moon mangas too, right? But to have all of them, plus all of Dark Horse comics, or like, and plus of like the Conan ones, the Star Wars, so I feel like if you're a collector of comics, you're niche to a certain kind, and you go really deep in that area. It's kind of like research. If you're a professor in a subject, you are going to have to go deep in, like, let's say astrophysics versus botany. They're related, but they're very different things in practice, right? Even I struggled a lot with physics because my dad was a prof in computer science. He did his master's in math, so he was a great teacher for me for math, but physics is not math, right? Physics is a lot more like formulaic, and it's different, right? Racial policy comics. Coming to a comic book store in the cosmos near you. Speaking of cosmic frequencies, let's take it back to the Flash and what he has to tell us about reality. So determined to uncover proof of parallel worlds, Barry Allen practiced adjusting his frequency. Syncopating, I like that word, syncopating at super speed, he succeeded in lowering his vibrational frequency by several octaves. I love how this is all like music language to talk about jumping worlds and portals, right? Music frequency is a great way of talking about how, like, in a symphony, you can have all of these instruments all playing at the same time, but it sounds harmonic, right? So like that rule of matter where you can't have two things taking up the same space in the same time, when it comes to music, if you're on different octaves, it can feel like you are, right? Like in Promethea, when they go up to the imagination realm, the way that they explain it is that it's exactly where you're standing, just in like a higher dimension, right? So we can't perceive that being in it, right? It's like if you are making a play, right, and you're like casting all your friends in it, and you've written all the script, and you're also a role in it, when you're acting it out on stage, for a moment you're suspending the fact that you already know how the play ends so that you can play a character, right? So it's kind of like that in life. You can pop out of it for a little bit and be like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. But for this to work, you need to be you. And it needs to happen naturally, whatever that means, right? Cannot be forced. It's like love or sex or kissing or dance. It has to, there's a synergy, a flow, an energy. And it's just like in music where you can hear when something's on or off. And there's no way to, it's so hard to explain it. You can explain it mathematically, but like, you just have to be there, right? You just have to know. Like, it's just one of those things, right? So, Amityville, thank you for the heart me. Yay. All right, guys, let's continue onward. So I'm going to say syncopating again, because I like that word. Syncopating at super speed, he succeeded in lowering his vibrational frequency by several octaves. And so by doing this, so keep this in mind, my musicians out there, don't end up in a portal somewhere. Don't freak out. You just have to realize, just adjust the calibration of your frequency, and that will take you home. So, and in a world that was only a bass tone away. Oh, it's so funny he said that, because my nights of frequency. In a world that was only a bass tone away, he met Jay Garrick, the flash of an alternate reality where Barry's childhood comic book heroes were real people. So that's, see, I just got a crazy tingle from the universe. So I'm going to read that again. In a world that was only a bass tone away, he met Jay Garrick, who was but a character in a comic book he was reading, a flash of an alternate reality where Barry's childhood comic book heroes were real people. Dun, dun, dun. Supergirl, I'm waiting to meet you. Okay, and if Jay Garrick was a fictional character in Barry's world, was Barry Allen a fiction in some higher yet undiscovered world? Yes, and also a real character. Hey, Spiner Cartage, it's like you appeared at the right time. It's like, are we a character in a comic book in some other dimension? Right? Chaos, hello, welcome to the read. We're learning all about multiversity. And you can see here, like a little different version of Justice League of America, a little black canary here. And so it began. Hands were extended across a newly discovered multiverse. Previously unimaginable adventures ensued. Indeed, Dr. Doom. Of course, like that epic. But you know what? That's the thing, though. For a story to happen, you need to have a good villain, too, right? And the beauty I find of the bigger stories that deal with cosmic elements is that it's not quite so simple and black and white of like good guy, bad guy, because you're dealing with more like fabric of time space, or like the how should I call it? Like reality itself, right? Or the order of things on a higher natural karmic level, as opposed to it being these small grievances of like what's a criminal, who's bad, who's good, from a very like legal third dimensional kind of perspective, right? Oh yes, and yesterday I had some crazy technical glitch when I was going to read you guys about the shaman lady and what they did to kind of extract envy, like almost like how the 7 deadly sins could take over people's bodies like a zombie virus kind of thing. Which I think there's some truth to that, right? Like disease is not really well understood, right? Like sometimes, you know, there's so much that the medical community doesn't know and is not humble enough to admit that there's probably a lot in nature that could just, like, if people just had the opportunity to explore, they could figure it out. 8 dimensions. Tears appears. Oh, I have a feeling that TikTok doesn't like some of my topics, especially the things where I'm telling you guys how to like activate your superpowers. Because let's be honest, you guys, the powers that aren't, I have to call them that because they don't have any real power. Like whatever you want to call it. Hunter S. Thompson used to call it the enemy, right? Because I hesitate to say, like, history will tell its own stories for whoever's in power. Like, what do they call it? The victor is the one who tells the story of history, right? So we should always, it's why superheroes are commonly journalists as well, right? Like good journalists. Because journalists, good reporters, good researchers, you're going to look at things from all the angles. Even, and being aware of your own biases too. And being able to transcend those biases to get to the truth of things, right? And that's not easy all the time, right? Especially when you're an emotional person or you're very empathetic, and it can, like, trust me, I can get paralyzed really easily. Even when you know something's the right thing to do, it's still another thing doing it, right? You don't know anything. Yes, exactly. And I also do a lot of stuff with a group called Decriminalized Nature. I think you guys have seen, I produce all of their shows, and of course we're dealing with things that are not legal, right? And that's where it kind of goes into, like, what is our moral compass when you have a world that values things that are, let's say, corrupted or degraded, right? So it's a tricky thing to deal with, and that's why I think comic books, and if you guys have read science fiction, what story did I want to talk about? Oh yes, the Trisolarans, a three-body problem. The concept in that show where they talk about how the aliens, the Sophons, they send out these, like, tracking devices where they can basically monitor everything, like everything on Earth that has a device. So how are we supposed to fight against an alien force that can literally see everything? We hide it in fables and do a long game, right? Because this idea of being able to tell the truth in the fiction, to tell the truth in the lie, that is something that I don't, like, that is the nuance of storytelling. And that ability is not something that is easily done. It takes great understanding of symbols as well as remembering. Like remembering all of those stories from your great grandfather, who was a warrior on a star realm out in Andromeda. Can you remember that? So no one can, but you do. And it's one of those things where we kind of, like, mess with ourselves, where, like, sometimes you'll feel in flow and you're like, yeah, but wait, that's too good to be true. And then you screw up, right? It's like one of those things, like, race car drivers, like, even when I play, like, racing games, my hubby's really good at racing games. He's always telling me, like, look far in front of you so you know what's coming and you know how to hit the turns. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm too, like, busy panicking about all the stuff flying by and how fast everything's going. But everything is perspective. And especially when it comes to the Flash, when you talk about, like, oh, your superpower is I can go really, 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 really fast. You're like, okay, well, like, big deal. But when you understand what that means from a time perspective, when you understand that Flash can literally transcend time and everything's vibration, right? That is true power. And it's why also Barry is the character type that he is. So good, so humble, because powers like that, you wouldn't give a character type like Tony Stark someone like the Flash's power. It, like, that's not the power that's earned by that archetype, right? His comes a different way, right? He builds a suit for himself, right? And there's a whole other power, intellect, that goes into that as well, right? It's just a different way of using it. So in your own self, in your own character type, whether or not you like Tony Stark or whether or not you like the Flash, even though they kind of have similar colors, right? I think tells you more about yourself, right? And Am I going to be the type of person who's going to build something? Oh, I find gratification from pulling things together and using my hands tactically. Or am I someone who's more mental about it? And I'm going to have more gratification about having thought experiments and philosophical conversations and with my friends and figuring things out from that kind of perspective. Both are needed, right? But it's important for us to know who we are, especially when we have forgotten, right? And then other people tell us who they want us to be for them, right? Especially if it's a role that is under them or is one that you maybe had to play because you had to survive, right? And then it maybe doesn't serve you anymore, but then people only know you as that, and you're like, how do I? So all of that, I think, like, it sounds so funny, but like, how did you get all that from a comic book? I'm like, like, they all have alter egos too, right? You're playing with your own different personas as well as that higher calling to the greater world and universe to play on that stage too, right? So there we go. Where are we? Oh, yes. So you can see all the different flashes as a result of him, the flashpoint, hitting that right tone where he discovers that other universe where he is a fictional character, right? In a higher dimension. So inspired, the Flash invented something called the cosmic treadmill, a running machine designed to fine-tune his substance. Ooh, his substance. Funny way of putting it. A running machine designed to fine-tune his substance to previously unexpected wavelengths. A multitude of coexistent worlds was revealed. A whole spectrum of variations on the theme. A whole multiverse. Oh, thank you for the bonut. Oh, it matches. It's like the multiverse lives because we're all here right now. It just takes two, right? It just takes two. It just takes an idea and someone to catch it and be like, yeah, that's cool. How about maybe this? And then it just, like, it's so easy, but we make it so complicated. I don't know why. I do know why, actually. It's not that easy. Okay. So a multiverse. And then came the first crisis on infinite Earths. So, this story, right? Oh, shoot. Packing this. Where worlds that once had been collapsed were fused together. Where lives were erased and rewritten, and whole realities converged in epic congress. What had been multiverse was universe once more. Unstable, uncertain, post-traumatic. And all the while, forces beyond imagination were at work. Next, time itself came under threat from Parallax, the fear thing possessing the indomitable will of the Green Lantern Hal Jordan. And so it was until reality changed again. And changed again. And what once had been rendered unremembered, re-forgotten, once more, a multiverse erupted from the fragile, unstable universe. New shoots, fresh tactical branches, fractal branches, wormed their way through hypertime and into 52 new universes were born. An ordered orrery of worlds, which were erased and renewed as continuities rose and fell in waves and troughs. No one knew. No one remembered. Only the monitors. Ooh. All right, guys. I think that's where I'll leave it for today. I wanted to do at least a little bit of a read because I do need to finish my book. Oh, Donald. But I will pick this up again very soon, you guys. So for now, thank you for this. And until next time, remember, you guys, it takes true courage for you to be exactly you in the cosmic game of life. So remember to play as you, because the universe is counting on you. But I have your back. Till next time, guys. Bye.